Ladies, what you're about to hear is kind of a stream of consciousness recording that I did last week. Right now, what I'm speaking to you is the morning of my birthday, my 58th birthday. And I was thinking that I'd have to redo that, what you're about to hear, which is a stream of consciousness as to the early years of my business. But as I listen back, I'm like, this is okay. I don't need to re-record this. But I did feel like I needed to bring you some context. So when I talked with someone about a week or two ago, she asked me, tell me about your first year in coaching. How was that? And I'm like, you know what? I can't believe I never talked specifically about that first coaching business and what I did to generate nearly $200,000 in my first year. So that's what this is. A stream of consciousness on the early years of my entrepreneurial journey. And then specifically as it relates to coaching, my first coaching practice and the results and what I did to get those results. So I pray that this blesses you immensely. And listen, if you are in business and you are struggling to hit 100K in a year, it is so doable. If you're smart and you're an expert, there's no reason why you shouldn't have that, even in your first year. So if that is you, please reach out. We need to change that. It's entirely possible for you. And I know that together we can get you there. All right. Enjoy this episode. Building a business takes work, but never hustle. And scaling your business is easier than you think. Welcome to the Joyful Scaling Podcast, the gold standard for successful Christian female entrepreneurs, where you'll learn how to live your faith in Christ as the CEO He made you to be. Whether learning how to generate your first 100K or scaling towards 7 figures, award-winning business coach and scaling expert Judy will teach you the strategy and mindset you need to run a highly profitable, sophisticatedly simple business. It's an absolute joy to run. It's time for your next breakthrough. Let's go. I thought I shared a lot about my entrepreneurial beginning, but in speaking with someone this week, I learned I really didn't. And I made me wonder why I never did. It just never, I guess, came to mind. I never thought to address this. And it made me really go back to what I always say, which is you need to know your best client so well. What is she saying? What is she thinking? What is she praying for when she lays her head down? What does she wake up feeling, right? So this person asked me, Judy, in your first year of coaching, tell me about that. Did you do well? Did you hit 6 figures? What was it like? And, it made me realize that I often talk about my very first business where within weeks, I had 14 appointments, 10 of which closed. And all of a sudden I was overwhelmed with work that I didn't know how I would finish because it was interior design. And some projects were complete kitchen makeovers and others were bathroom renos. And a few were more minor projects, but they were pretty massive in size and scale. And yet they were the first jobs I got. So what I didn't realize that you may be wondering is when I transitioned to online, which I never really, it's funny when people say online business, I never considered myself an online business. And here's why. Because to me, an online business was more like an Amazon product type business and not a service-based business. Because I love not just meeting people online, which is a beautiful thing because I get to, the reach is much bigger geographically and otherwise, right? I have people listening to this podcast right now, not just in Florida, not just in the United States, but in literally 50 plus countries around the world, some of which I've never heard of. And so it's pretty amazing. But, I never really thought about the question that you may be wondering, what was it like when you became a coach? Like, how was it for you? And so I'm here to tell you, ladies, in my first year coaching, I made just shy of 200 grand. It's like 193 or 197, something like that. And then the next question this woman asked me was, how did you do it? And we're talking about 2017, the first full year. Like, at some point in 2017, I did the math. I'm like, oh my goodness. And you know what's interesting? Back then, I wasn't tracking daily sales. Back then, I wasn't tracking monthly. I wasn't doing monthly reconciliations or anything like that. My niece was handling the books, and I just didn't think to look. Like, do you understand how far you can come in a very short period of time? But what I did focus on, and I focused hours a day on it, was getting people, like meeting people, like finding my people. At the time that I started my coaching business in late 16, 2017, somewhere around there, I knew I focused on exclusively serving women in real estate. I was in business with my twin sister at the time, and she was busy still, in production in real estate. And so it was my job. I was the marketing point person to begin to make a name for ourselves and to connect. And so my thought was, I am going to create a Facebook group. And many of you listening were probably in it. Let's see. Do I remember what it was called? Oh golly, why can't I remember what it was called? Not Extraordinary Success. Girl's Guide to Outrageous Real Estate Success. The Girl's Guide to Outrageous Real Estate Success. And I grew that within like 18 months to almost 30,000 women in real estate. Most, like, actually real estate agents, brokers, team leaders, some other people in real estate, though, had ended up joining because it was such a popular place to be. Mortgage people, lenders, title, anything related to real estate, social media people. But what I would do is literally spend hours a day searching on LinkedIn and Facebook realtors or brokers or agents. And it wasn't that I just, hello, here's an invite, come to the group. I got to know them. That Facebook group was so incredibly engaging. Like you came in and you felt the love. And people would say, wow, this just feels different. There's so much, backstabbing in so many of these groups, especially among women, but they don't have that here. That's because I set tight boundaries. That wasn't what I wanted to create. I wanted to have a safe space for women to not only be supported and inspired, but actually get good, valuable tips, strategies, all that, right? And so I dedicated at least 3 hours a day to doing just that, inviting women in, and then another hour or two engaging with the ladies in the Facebook group. Now, I will tell you that I don't necessarily recommend that as doing the same thing today, because Facebook is a different animal, if I can call it that, than it was then. And let's see what else. The whole Facebook group feel was very different. There weren't as many groups online as there are now. And these days, it seems that because of so many that are really just spammy and promotional and buy my thing, that people are just not really inclined to do Facebook groups. So I'm not telling you that that's what you should do. I'm telling you that's what I did. But what I want you to hear is the strategy behind it. You see, I was on TV back in Charleston, oh gosh, what is it, over 2 years ago. And what I wanted to talk about was that women overestimate they overvalue, if you will, I forget the word, but they overemphasized the importance of the tactic, like, ooh, grow a Facebook group and grow your audience that way. And they almost ignore or very much underestimate the importance of strategy behind the tactic. It's not just, what are you doing? Oh, you're doing that new work? Great, I'm going to grab it. Wait a minute. You have to think strategically. Does it make sense for you? And I'm here to tell you that it may or may not. Don't just grab this idea and go running. Okay. Does it make sense for you? Starting with your best client. Is your best client, number one, I hope you have one and that you know we're really, really well, more and more better and better every day. But also, is that best client someone that wants to join a Facebook group? First of all, is she even on Facebook for anything with respect to her work or her life, as the case may be, depending on your expertise? Like, you really have to think it through. Is this where my best client is? Is what I'm thinking about doing, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a Facebook group, whether it's a who knows what, is this something that would be appealing to my best client, knowing her as I do? Okay. But this is what I would do. Facebook group, that's where I spent virtually all my time. I did not know the gold mine that we had in our email lists. I was lucky to write, and I did that too. I did the email too. So I was lucky if I, sent out one email a month. And if you are with me now, I send out at least 2 a week. But I also hear time and time again how much my audience loves my emails because there's value there, right? I am shifting beliefs. I am making you aware of things that you may not have been aware of. I am pointing you to where you need to focus and where you really don't, right? So many things that I did wrong, quote unquote, but I still made almost 200 grand back in 2017. Okay. Now, let's go back to my first business. Oh, by the way, what else did I do to make that 200 grand? We were unapologetic in putting out offers. And I have to say, not so much in the Facebook group per se, but we would do 5-day challenges. These days, it's the 5+4. If you know what I'm talking about, certain big name live launch formulas, if you will. But back then, we just did it down and dirty. Okay. We didn't know about the 5+4. I think we had a coach from the beginning, but that wasn't something that we had learned or were taught. So it was just a 5-day challenge. And at the end, we would invite. And I'll never forget how nervous I was to pitch the offer. But they were predominantly group offers of various price points from about $2,000 to $5,000. And then later we did mastermind level stuff, more like $10,000, $15,000, as I recall. But the bread and butter was, the group programs at the 2 and 5. So they were more 8-week, 12-week things. And then there were women that bought again and bought again. And, right. Because one would be about your branding and another would be about becoming a listing queen. And another one would be about, sales, whatever the case. But another thing that we did, which was, I don't know, it was a good experience, but I don't know that I would do it again ever. I'm almost 58. If I were 38, I might think differently, but that was memberships. We had a membership where we had a point person that was very good with social media, graphics, design, that kind of thing in Canva. And we would every month put out a new post ideas with graphics. We would do, if you want a business card, and branding look and feel with the different colors. And, like we would have like different templates. And then you would say, I would want the Joanne template. And could you make it blue and green instead of, black and yellow, whatever. Right. And do you know that our membership was $27? I think it was $27 a month. And I think we also had an annual. Gosh, was that $270? That would be insane, especially for all the work we did. But yeah, that messiness that I've just described is how you make $190,000. Oh my goodness. All right. Let me go back in time though to my very first business in 2010, in 2003, the interior decorating business. Some people have asked, like, how did you get 14 appointments in like a 2-day event? I was proud of myself, but I was disappointed. I thought more. But I got a booth at a home show. It was a very well attended. It was a well-known home show. It was the annual big home show. And I don't know. I don't even think I paid 500. But I also had to have a friend move like furniture into it. See, some people just kind of, oh, I have my event like next week. Uh-oh, what am I going to do? And they just throw some flyers together. I wasn't going to throw some flyers together. I created a beautiful room in my 10 by 10 space. People could come in and have a seat. I had brochures. Now we're talking about 2003. So I'm not talking about something beautiful from Canva. There was no Canva. I'm not talking about something amazing like a beautiful printed brochure. I was brand new in business. I created this on my computer. I think I had a computer then. Yeah, my husband would have done that at the time. And I just hit print on my printer. And then I folded them so it looked like a trifold brochure. Very low key. I don't even know if it was color. I don't think it was. But I had a bunch of them. And I also had, let's see, so I had beautiful, comfy spaces that they could come. It would feel like home. Hey, take a load off your feet, whatever. And it was my aesthetic. Which, if you know me, I'm more traditional, especially then. Now I've come a little bit more mid, a mix and eclectic mix of the traditional mixed with the contemporary and the eclectic woods and metals, all that. But anyway, it was a really beautiful space. Nobody else was doing that, even designers. And all these brochures. And then I also was handing out like little bags of Hershey Kisses or something. But my plan was, and I was very strategic in this, it always amazed me how these, getting these booths is not cheap. It's an investment of time and dollars. And so many just like look like they're like about to fall asleep sitting behind the table. They kind of wait for you to go up to them in their booth. I was like, no, that's weird. That's a waste of time and money. So I said, what can I do? What can I do? So I bought an easel and I bought a felt board and I wrote on it. And I wish I had a picture of it. It's sad that I don't, but I don't. That said, gosh, don't you wish that you would think of things back then? I'd love to see what it was. But as I recall, I wrote out on a piece of paper, like kind of bigger sized, what room in your home do you hate? And that's what was big on the top of this easel. And I might have had a second easel that had that in a bigger looking, like a bigger board. I don't know how to call it, but and I was the one standing there saying, hey, come on, step up. Tell me what room makes you crazy at home. They're like, what? Like, yeah, what room? Is it the living room? The family room? Is it your bedroom? Is it the kitchen? Tell me. We'll kind of lay it out and see if I can help. People loved that. They ate it up. And because it was a well-attended event, and you know what? They were at a home show. So I think a certain relatively high percentage of people that are there that had to pay to get in are interested, or at least thinking about doing something in their home to improve it. Now, some were interested in the pool, some were interested in the landscape, but a lot were interested in interior design. And I was the only one. I think there were 3 or 4 other designers, but I was the only one that had the board that said, what room do you hate? And I brought them in. And then I'd engage with them. And sometimes there was more than one couple or more than a couple of people there. And I felt like, oh my gosh, I wish I had an assistant to do it, but nobody would do it like me, or so I think, right? That was my thought then. But anyway, so I'd engage with them. And after it got to be a certain point, and you know this by trusting your gut, you say, you know what? Is this something that you'd love to work out? Like, is this something on your radar to, have some expert help on to really pull this room together? Or were you thinking about doing some renovations in your home? Blah, blah, blah. Somehow that came up. And then it was just the first couple of times I did, it was very hard. But the second day, it just rolled off my tongue. And they'd be like, oh, tell me about that. Oh, yeah, I'm going to come to your home. It's no charge. I'm going to spend an hour with you. I'm going to get to look at the space and talk more about, better understand your aesthetic, better understand what you're looking for. And, if it sounds like something that you really want to move forward with, I'll tell you how I work, my pricing structure, and we could take it from there. Does that sound good? Oh, and by the way, if you do set your appointment today, I have this little something for you. And I think the little something for you was a cute little notebook, like I went to the dollar store and I bought these cute little, I don't even know what to call them, large sticky notes, like larger sticky notes, like they were long and lean. I don't even know how to describe it. It had a cute little thing on the front. And I tore them off. And so one of these big stacks for $1, I had like 5 of them or 6 or so. And then I had them wrapped up in a pretty tulle, Tulle, with a pretty ribbon. And I'm like, when you sign your appointment, I have this gift for you. So I think there was something else I'm missing, but I can't recall. I also had, besides the brochures, besides that engaging, hey, step in, talk to me, and the incentive to book the appointment, I think there were also pictures of work I've done, which guess what they were? It was pictures of my home. It was rooms in my home. And by the way, I was very strategic in the booth that I chose, the location of it. I did not want to be out in the boondocks. I wanted to be on a major part of the layout. And that's exactly what I did. So how much money did I make in my first business? To be honest with you, I have no idea. I really wasn't tracking the numbers then. I was just barely keeping all the balls in the air. My 3 boys, who were 2, 4, and 7 at the time, my husband, who was working all the time, and this business that just blew up out of nowhere. I think I had that business for about 18 months. And I will tell you, people say, well, why would you leave such a lucrative job? I absolutely love interior design. And by God's grace, I think I'm very good at it. But what I found was that I needed to have contractors on whom I could rely. Kitchen reno. They say they're going to be coming in to deliver the granite on this date. I'm there with the client. They don't show. They're 15 minutes late. I make a call. Nobody answers. They're an hour late. We're like, oh my gosh, my client's living and so was I. I hired somebody for my babysit my little one at the time. I mean, it was insane. And I know I have interior designers and decorators listening. You know what I'm talking about. And stagers, you know what I'm talking about, right? I'm like, I can't do it. So anyway, so there's the humble beginnings of me. And so this is where strategy, so many people, they're just throwing around that word. But as a lawyer in the trenches, representing doctors who were being sued for medical malpractice, I had to be strategic to win. First of all, I had to take the super complicated and make it simple. What am I talking about? The medicine. The medicine. I had to know the medicine, at least what my expert was telling me about the medicine, so that I could review the records, the medical records, stacks of them, 4 feet high sometimes. Kid you not. And I had to know that. I had to understand those medical records. And then I had to summarize them in a way that me and the partners that were on the case with me, that we could understand, so that we could then help the jury and the judge understand, who, like us, knew nothing about medicine. Now I know a little bit something about medicine. Loved that job too. Didn't like dealing with the court. A lot of corruption. That's not just baloney. I've seen it with my own eyes. But strategic thinking is what by God's grace, I am a master at. And that's what I teach my clients. So if you are listening to the sound of my voice and you are in your first year of business and you're like, I'm barely making any money, we need to talk. If you're in your first or second, third, fifth year of business and haven't yet broke 100K, yeah, it's time. It's time to have a conversation. So if you are interested in that, find me, DM me at Judy Weber Co, wherever you are.
on any social platform. Well, that's a lie. On Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I don't do the other nonsense. And I want to talk with you. If you are serious about getting results for you in the business and getting your clients results, those that are right now praying for you and they can't find you because you're not visible. You're not strategic in your visibility. You're not strategic in your marketing. You're not strategic in your sales. And I want to ask you, are you being strategic in your client delivery so that they're bragging about you to everybody? That is not you yet. It's yours in Christ. That's why he called you to business. He has an audience of people waiting, a client list for you waiting. Let's chat. Let's get your strategy in place and get you ready to hit your first 6K year. 6K, six-figure year. All right.
Well, that wraps up today's episode. Hey, if you found today's show valuable, I would so appreciate it if you would take a minute and give a rating with a review. If you desire, like me, to elevate the way Christian women do business, help spread the word about this show. We need more ladies listening to the message that when you build a faith-fueled business, even the impossible is possible. Now, if you're ready to do big things and you're interested in learning how you and I can work together, there are two ways. First, if you're generating six figures and you want to scale your business, join the Joyful Scaling Mastermind waitlist. You'll get sneak peeks inside to learn what it's really like being a part of the group. Sign up to get on that waitlist at judyweber.co/joyfulscaling. And if you're instead in the earlier stages of business and you want to get to your first 100K, the Joyful Six Figures Accelerator is coming soon. You can get on the wait list at builda100kbiz.com. And at the same time, you'll be reserving your seat to my soon-to-be released 3-part video series called Build a 100K Business in 12 months or less. Again, go to builda100kbiz.com. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.